Hello children, and welcome to this session today. Dear children, we've approached the end of book number 8. We have learned many different things in this book. Now towards the end, we are going to understand something that is really concerning us and our daily life. We are going to be talking about chapter number 19, pollution of air and water. In this chapter, we are going to talk about pollution and conservation of water and pollution and conservation of air. Why this is important? Because air is something that we breathe in and day out, even every second of our life. And water is something that we need to survive. We need water for various activities. Animals and plants also need water. So in this chapter, we are going to understand how these two are affected and what is the effect of their pollution on living beings on earth. So let's begin the chapter by understanding what are natural resources. So this is something we are also familiar with, but let's read the definition from the book once. The resources which are directly obtained from nature are known as natural resources, and the resources that human beings create are known as man-made resources. Now, when these natural resources lose their natural characteristics, when contaminants are added to these. Contaminants refer to unacceptable substances. So, anything that is unacceptable when added to a natural resource will be called a contaminant, and this addition will be known as pollution. So, when we talk about water pollution, air pollution, we have a picture in our mind. So when we say water pollution, we know that the glass of water is not going to be clean. And when we talk about air pollution, we know that the air that is polluted cannot be breathed in. You feel suffocated when you breathe in that kind of air. So this is the definition of pollution. Now let us understand water as a natural resource. So we know that 3/4 of the earth is covered with water, but we also understand that out of this 3/4, only 1% of water is fit for human consumption. The other remaining water is either trapped in glaciers, that is the ice sheets on the poles, or it is trapped as seawater. Trapped, why? Because seawater is salty and we cannot consume salty water. So that is why this 1% water makes water such an important resource. That is the reason why it shouldn't be polluted. But how does it get polluted? Let us watch a video to understand the same. Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies with harmful substances. Water bodies are being polluted by throwing industrial wastes into them, by throwing domestic wastes into them, by washing clothes, bathing animals in them, oil spills from tankers. Drinking contaminated water can cause diseases like jaundice, cholera, and gastroenteritis in human beings. Fertilizers, when thrown into the water bodies, causes eutrophication that results in the rapid growth of algae in water bodies. Algae consume a large amount of oxygen dissolved in the water. This results in the level of oxygen falling in water that adversely affects aquatic animals. So we have understood here that many different things lead to pollution of water. All these unwanted substances that are added in water are known as pollutants. As is evident from the picture that is given here, the first important reason mentioned in your book is addition of untreated sewage. So where does this untreated sewage comes from? It comes from homes, and there are microorganisms inside this untreated sewage which when mixed with drinking sources can lead to problems like cholera, dysentery, diarrhea, jaundice, and even typhoid. The second is industrial waste. The industrial wastes essentially comes out from industries like leather, textile, chemical industries. These produce a lot of toxic waste. There is no way in which these wastes can be cleaned from the water resources. Next comes fertilizers and pesticides. Now, due to rampant use of fertilizers and pesticides, all these are being washed away into the nearby water resources. And what is happening? The growth of organic compounds is increasing. Algae is increasing. What is happening then? There is competition for consumption of oxygen in the water. So, all these naturally occurring organisms in the water bodies like fish, etc., they have to compete for oxygen. Also, because of the process of eutrophication, these naturally occurring water animals or aquatic animals are killed. Now, drinking water or potable water is a very, very important thing. The important thing is, how do we obtain drinking water or potable water out of the water that is available in the freshwater resources, in which contaminants are inevitably added. So, we will look at this diagram and understand it in detail. The water which is used for drinking is known as potable water or drinking water. The water which is obtained from natural resources is normally free from pollutants, but due to human activities, it often gets polluted. The various strategies for purification of water include different stages of treatment of water at the waterworks. At the municipal level, the raw water is subjected to treatment in which sedimentation and decantation are carried out at various levels. The decanted and sedimented water is then subjected to treatment with chlorine, which kills most of the organisms present in water. The place where all these activities are carried out to make the water fit for human consumption is known as waterworks. So, this was purification of water at waterworks. Now, purification of water is also carried out by adding chlorine to it, which is known as chlorination of water. It is also done by boiling water, by treatment of water with ultraviolet rays, or the reverse osmosis technique, the RO in our house. Now, children, because drinking water is so limited in its amount, that is the reason conservation of water becomes very important. Now, how do you conserve water? First, during irrigation, instead of letting the water just flow, what do you use? You use methods like drip irrigation. Then, the water which is used in industrial establishments should be recycled and reused instead of being allowed to mix in the freshwater sources. Next, we should avoid excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Nowadays, organic farming is in vogue, and because of organic farming, they use only organic fertilizers, organic manures. So, that saves water. Then, there are areas where flooding happens practically every year. Now, how do we control this flooding and wasting of water? Is by creating check dams and ponds. The next important, very important step in conservation of water is rainwater harvesting. By rainwater harvesting, not only are we able to save the water that is falling in rain, we are also able to increase the level of groundwater, because when this rainwater seeps underground, the level of groundwater increases. Now, children, coming to the next important natural resource, which is air. Air is present all around us in the form of a layer which is known as atmosphere. It is a blanket that surrounds the air. We all know that it consists of 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen and 0.1% mixed gases. Now, this 0.1% or 0.16% is carbon dioxide, water vapor and inert gases. Why do we need air? We need air to breathe. Why do plants need air? Plants need air to carry out exchange of gases during the process of photosynthesis. Now, how does pollution of air take place? Let us again watch a video to understand the same. The addition of harmful substances to the air is called air pollution. Human activities are responsible to a great extent to pollute the air. Burning of fossil fuels like petrol and diesel by automobiles, factories releases sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide into the air. Incomplete combustion of fossil fuels adds carbon monoxide to the air. Forest fires and volcanic eruptions add smoke and dust to the air. Leaking refrigerators, air conditioners, and spray cans add chlorofluorocarbons to the air. Having understood how pollution of air takes place, let us understand these particles in detail. The first is suspended matter. Suspended matter is very lightweight matter that keeps floating in air all the time. Like there is lead, tiny dust particles, and particulate matter. Now, these particulate matters or this lead that is there, this comes from burning of fossil fuels. The next is gases like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, and carbon monoxide. Now, carbon dioxide, we understand it is produced during the burning process, essentially the burning of fossil fuels, coal, petroleum, and firewood. Now, this carbon dioxide, it actually forms a layer around the earth. So, this is the earth. This layer of carbon dioxide does not allow heat to escape. So, the temperature of air around the earth increases, which is termed as global warming. So, pollution of air does not only lead to diseases in human beings, it is also affecting the temperature of earth on a larger scale. Next, coming to sulfur dioxide. Now, sulfur is present in coal, and when rubber is produced during the process of vulcanization, this sulfur dioxide is produced and released into the air. This is not only very foul smelling, but it is also very difficult to inhale or breathe whenever we are standing near a source of sulfur dioxide. Same is the case with nitrogen dioxide, which is also produced by the burning of fossil fuels. Children, chlorofluorocarbons are also known as freons. They are used as a refrigerant in refrigerators and air conditioners. In addition to increase in global warming, they are another hazard. Why? Because they react with the ozone layer that is present in the upper reaches of the earth. Do you remember what the function of ozone layer is? Ozone layer prevents the ultraviolet rays of the sun to fall directly on the earth, because these ultraviolet rays are cancer causing. So, when the chlorofluorocarbons are reacting with the ozone layer, what is happening? It is breaking apart, allowing more and more radiation to enter the earth. So, now talking about conservation of air. Let us see how we can conserve air. Switching off internal combustion engines at traffic signals and railroad signals. Using smoke precipitators in the chimneys attached to the factories where fossil fuel is burned for industrial production. Using catalytic converter, a device which converts harmful automobile exhaust into less harmful gases. Use of alternative fuels to run the vehicles. For example, compressed natural gas is now available in various parts of the country, which is a cleaner fuel in comparison to petrol and diesel. Use of electrically driven vehicles and use of electric engines to run trains. Planting more trees, it can be carried out by organizing campaigns. At domestic levels, piped natural gas or liquefied petroleum gas should be used for cooking, as these are cleaner fuels and leave no residue except for gases after burning. So children, in this chapter you have learned about the pollution of most important life-giving natural resources, air and water. You have understood the different reasons why they get polluted, and you've also understood the ways in which we can counter this pollution. So, having learned all this, it is important to remember that we need to adopt methods which will help in long run conservation of air and water. Because I don't think it's a very wise thing to do that you keep polluting on one side and keep trying to conserve on the other side. So let's cut down on activities that actually pollute the natural resources. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing to live on earth then? Thank you so much for joining us today.